Hello, everyone. We're here today with Patrick Evans, President and CEO and Director of Mayfair Gold, a newly listed gold exploration company in Timmins, Ontario, with a 2 million ounce resource on its way to 3+ million ounces. Hi, Patrick, and thanks for being with us here today.
Thank you very much, Peter. It's nice to be talking to you again.
Pleasure is mine, in fact. Patrick, certainly a standout asset that you have at Mayfair. Why don't we just start from the beginning? If you can give us a bit of the history of how we got where we are, when the company was listed, when you acquired the asset, and so on.
Thanks, Peter. So Mayfair Gold did a search across North America looking for a good gold asset in a tier 1 jurisdiction. We looked at over 90 opportunities and we focused on Fenn-Gib. That ticked most of the boxes for us. It was owned by Pan American. We approached them in late 2019. They weren't interested in selling. We kept going back to them month after month. And then sadly, for the world, COVID hit the beginning of last year. For Mayfair, it was a fortunate opportunity for us to reprice our proposed acquisition cost for Mayfair, and we were able to sign an acquisition agreement with Pan American in late March next year at a time of tremendous uncertainty in the mining industry. It took us until the end of last year to close the acquisition, but we were quite confident that we were going to close it. So during the second half of last year, we raised approximately $18 million in a private placement to fund the acquisition. And we also started putting together our exploration team. We brought our VP exploration, our manager exploration on board, together with 6 other geologists, even before the acquisition closed. And we also managed to acquire Kirkland Lake's exploration office in Matheson, which is 20 kilometers from Fenn-Gib, our asset. So when the acquisition closed on the 31st of December last year, we hit the ground running hard and fast, and the first drill rigs were turning within 3 weeks of closing.
That's tremendous. You certainly touched on the timing, which was spot on, needless to say, in this case. And you mentioned also that you hit the ground running since you acquired. Can you bring us up to date a little bit on, I guess, maybe a bit more of the work that's been done since you have the asset and where we are today?
Fenn-Gib is actually 2 blocks. There's the north block, which straddles the Pipestone Fault. And then a short distance to the south is the south block, which straddles the prolific Porcupine Fault. Our current resource, the 2-odd million ounces, sits on the north block. The south block is essentially unexplored, and that's very, very unusual, Peter, to find in this very mature gold-producing camp 6 kilometers of strike on this prolific Porcupine Fault that is basically unexplored. Our current work plan for 2021 is a 50,000 meter drill program to grow the first mine resource from 2-odd million ounces to plus 3 million ounces by the end of the year, basically through a combination of infill drilling and expansion drilling in and around the resource. Just a matter of a few weeks ago, we completed the first airborne mag survey over both the north and the south blocks. Again, it's extraordinary that in this mature gold-producing region that no one had ever flown a high-resolution mag survey over these properties. The results were spectacular. They enabled us to get a better understanding of the geometry of the first mine deposit. And of course, they've shown in stark detail exploration opportunities outside of the first mine deposit. So 50,000 meters of drilling by the end of the year, an updated 43-101 resource statement by the end of the year. In parallel with that, of course, we're resuming metallurgical testing, we're resuming environmental monitoring, all the things that you would expect in order to be prepared to start a pre-feasibility study next year, a feasibility study in 2023, and ready for permitting at the end of 2023. One thing that I should mention, which has been a phenomenal and perhaps the biggest surprise for us of all, is we've discovered the footwall zone to the deposit. This wasn't previously identified by the previous owners of the property, but to the northeast of the main deposit, we've encountered some extraordinary grades. Now, there was some historic drilling that was done in that area by Lakeshore Gold. In one of their holes, for example, they hit over 34 meters at 4.5 grams per ton. I beg your pardon, 54 meters, over 54 meters at 4.5 grams per ton. Now, we didn't really understand what was happening there structurally until we flew this airborne mag survey. We now have a very good idea of where the footwall zone is and what the structure looks like. Our first hole into the footwall zone wasn't optimally placed because we didn't understand the orientation of it, but we've now just started a series of holes drilling perpendicularly into the footwall zone. We don't yet have assay results, but the first hole that we've drilled perpendicularly into the footwall zone, we've achieved mineralization over 70 meters. We don't yet know, of course, what the grade is, but the core certainly looks very, very attractive. And that is all currently outside of the 2.2 million ounce resource.
Well, certainly quite impressive progress, and you've given us a great overview. Can you maybe tell us what, as people watching, looking at this, can look for in terms of catalysts over the next several months? What might make Mayfair move as we go forward?
That's a good question, and in a sense, Peter, we've been moving very quickly while the market generally doesn't even know that Mayfair exists. I mean, we're such a new company. We've only been trading for 2 months, and yet we've moved very, very rapidly. The key catalysts are going to be, number one, of course, our first drill results. Unfortunately, the assay labs around the world are just jammed with work. So it's taking longer to get the turnaround of the assay results than we would like. But once we have the first batch of results, which we expect in the next couple of weeks, we will report them to the market. And we're hopeful that this will include some of the intercepts of the newly discovered high-grade footwall zone. The next catalyst is going to be the arrival next month of our 4th drill rig, flown into the South Block and starting to drill gold targets on the South Block. All designed, of course, to make new discoveries. And then our 5th drill rig should arrive in July, and that's currently being targeted for something called the Horseshoe Zone, which is to the northwest of the current deposit. And that was staked by Tahoe when they owned Fenn-Gib. And we're hopeful that we'll make a further new discovery in the Horseshoe Zone.
Wonderful. Patrick, is there anything that you'd like to perhaps add that we may not have touched on?
Thank you, Peter. And again, thank you for this opportunity. Mayfair's a new company. We trade in at roughly half of our peer average. Based on the current 2.2 million ounce resource, we trade in at half of our peer average. Our market cap is about 140 million. At the average, we should have a market cap of over 300 million. We haven't encountered any resistance in terms of our plans to achieve the targets that we've set for 2021. And we believe that as we continue to deliver on those targets, as the market gains a better understanding of Mayfair and the Fenn-Gib asset, we think we're very well placed for a re-rating in the market.
Excellent. Patrick, where can viewers go to get more info on Mayfair?
Mayfair.ca. And of course, Metals Investor Forum as well.
Excellent. Well, Patrick, thanks so much for that wonderful overview. Look forward to doing this again sometime soon.
Thanks very much, Peter.